The first bang didn't wake me up. It reset me. Like my body skipped the part where you're confused and went straight to, oh God, something's wrong. It was 2 a.m. The house was dark except for the faint blue glow of the microwave clock and the little nightlight in the hallway because my youngest still insisted monsters had better eyesight in the dark. Then the door shook again. Hard. So hard the frame rattled like it was tired of pretending it was secure. A man's voice blasted through the wood. Bounty hunters, open up! I froze with one sock halfway on. That sentence didn't even fit in my brain. Like, wrong category, wrong universe. My first thought was, that's not a real thing. That's a line from a reality show. My second thought was, my kids are asleep down the hall, and my body moved before my fear could argue. Yant, I ran barefoot to the hallway, grabbed my phone off the charger, and pushed open my kid's door. Mason, I whispered, already shaking him gently. Hey, wake up, baby. His eyes fluttered. Mom! Shoes, I whispered. Now, quiet. Lily was already stirring. Hair stuck to her cheek, blinking like she'd swum up from deep water. Another slam hit the front door. The whole house vibrated. Mason sat up fast. Is it Dad? Ha! My stomach clenched at that. Their dad lived 2 towns over. We were between civil and please don't. It was complicated. No, I said, keeping my voice low and steady. It's someone at the door. I ushered them into the closet in their room, the one we called the hiding spot, after that school safety meeting last year, the one I never thought I'd actually use. Then I heard it. A sharp crack, wood splitting. The front door didn't open like a door. It gave up. Heavy footsteps flooded in. Not one or two. Several. Fast. A flashlight beam swung across the living room, bright and jittery. Hands where we can see 'em, someone yelled. I stepped into the hallway with my phone held up, screen out, like it was the only thing I could offer as proof I wasn't a threat. I'm a mom, I said, loud enough to be heard. My kids are here. You have the wrong house. A man in a dark jacket pushed into view, flashlight in my face. Aaron Caldwell? He demanded. My throat tightened. Yes, who are you? He shoved a folder at chest height like it was a badge. Fugitive recovery, he snapped. You're on the run. There's money on you. Don't make this harder. My brain tried to process that and just didn't. I'm not on the run, I said. I went to the grocery store yesterday and forgot I had yogurt in my cart until I got home. That's the extent of my criminal lifestyle. Not the time for jokes, Aaron. Not really. But it slipped out because if I didn't say something human, I was going to start shaking so hard my teeth would clack. The man didn't smile. He stepped closer. We've got a skip packet. Your name. Your photo. This address, he said, tapping the page like it was gospel. And a bond company that wants you picked up. I swallowed. What bond company? I asked, keeping my voice level. And what case? He hesitated, just a flicker, then flipped the folder open. I caught a glimpse of a printed sheet. My name and address, a grainy photo that looked like me on my worst day, and a line that made my stomach drop. Wanted, failure to appear. No, I said. I'm quieter now. That's not real. A second man moved into the doorway, taller, older, and the moment his light hit my face, his whole posture changed. Not in a dramatic movie way, in a wait way. He stared at me for half a second too long. Then his face tightened like he'd just realized he walked into the wrong room at the wrong party. Hold up, he muttered. The first guy snapped, Don't hold up. That's her. The older one didn't take his eyes off me. Aaron, he said like he was testing the name. My heart thumped. I knew that voice. I hadn't heard it in months, but I knew it. And then it clicked. The school. The safety night. He'd been the guy in the back who didn't talk much, but when he did, everyone listened. He'd helped a panicked dad find his kid in the crowd. Calm. Solid. He'd worn a hoodie then, no uniform. I'd never asked what he did for work because why would I? Now he was standing in my hallway at 2 in the morning with a flashlight and a folder calling me a fugitive. I stared at him. You... His jaw tightened. Yeah, he said quietly. I know you. The first guy barked, Stop chatting. Aaron Caldwell, you're coming with us. My kids started crying in the closet. Soft at first, then louder. Lily's voice broke through. Mom! Everything in me went cold hot. I stepped forward, phone still up. My kids are right there, I said, sharper now. You are not dragging me out of my house in front of them over paperwork you can't even explain. The older man lifted a hand, not at me, at his own team. Back up, he said, right now. The first guy spun on him. What the hell, Dean? Dean, that was his name. He didn't flinch. Yeah, you said she's on the run. Dean replied. But she's standing here barefoot with kids crying. That doesn't match. And I've seen her at the school. She's not a skip. The first guy's eyes narrowed. You gonna pay the bond when we miss her? Dean's voice stayed calm, but his eyes turned hard. No, he said. I'm gonna keep us from doing something stupid. He looked at me, quick, steady. Aaron? He said under his breath. Did you get any notice? Court papers? Calls? Anything? No, I whispered. Nothing. Dean turned to the others. Someone fed us a bad packet, he said. Or worse, someone set this up. The first guy scoffed. Set up? For what? Dean didn't answer him. He reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and stepped a few feet away like he didn't want his own team hearing. He dialed. Then he said one sentence that made my stomach drop in a new direction. Yeah, this is Dean Mercer. I need you to run the bond number in this packet and get law enforcement rolling, now. I blinked. Law enforcement? Dean looked back at me. His voice went quieter, and in it I heard something I didn't expect. Regret. Because, he said, if your sister's behind this the way I think she is. He glanced at the torn door and then at the closet where my kids were sobbing. This is going to turn into a real case tonight. And as he said it, my phone buzzed in my hand. A text. One line from my sister, Sloane. Did they find you yet? My blood went cold. Dean saw my face change. What? He asked. I didn't answer. I just turned my screen toward him. And when he read it, his face tightened like a lock clicking shut. Okay, he said, voice low and deadly calm. Now I know exactly what this is. Dean didn't say, wow. He didn't do the dramatic thing where people gasp and stare at the ceiling like the truth just struck lightning. He read my sister's text. Did they find you yet? And his face just tightened like a door latch. Don't delete that, he said immediately. I wasn't going to, I whispered. Good. He pointed at my phone. Screenshot it, then send it to yourself. Then text it to me. We need it in more than one place. I did it with shaking hands because my body still thought we were in danger even though the loudest part had passed. The other recovery guys were in the living room, shifting like they were itching to finish the job and get paid. The first guy, tall, angry, all confident, snapped, Dean, we're wasting time. The bond company wants her. Dean turned on him so fast it shut the room down. Nobody's taking anybody, he said, calm but final, until we verify this packet. The tall guy scoffed. It's verified. We're here. Dean nodded once. Then it'll verify again in 2 minutes. Or it'll fall apart. Either way, we're not dragging a barefoot mom past her kids because someone handed us a pretty folder. That word, pretty, landed like an insult. The tall guy's jaw worked. You getting soft? He muttered. Dean didn't even look at him. He looked at me. Where are your kids? He asked. In the closet, I said, voice tight. Dean's tone changed. Not syrupy, not fake, just human. Okay, he said. I'm going to talk to them. You stay right here where I can see you. You're not in trouble. He walked down the hall slowly, hands visible, and a flashlight angled down so it wouldn't scare them more. I heard him speak softly. Hey, buddy. It's okay. I'm Dean. You're safe. Your mom's right here. Mason's crying got quieter. Lily sniffed. My chest cracked a little just hearing a grown man talk to them like they weren't in some nightmare. Dean came back and nodded at me once. They're okay, he said. Then he turned to his team. Everybody outside, he ordered. Front porch, now. The tall guy threw his hands up. Are you kidding? Dean didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Outside, he repeated. One by one, they backed out into the night, grumbling, shifting their flashlights away like it annoyed them to be considerate. Dean stayed in the doorway and pulled out his phone. I'm calling this in, he said to me. Not to get you arrested. So there's an official record that we were here and why. I swallowed. Will they believe me? Dean's expression didn't change. They'll believe the recording, he said, and they'll believe your door. He stepped a few feet away and made the call. I only heard pieces. Wrongful address possibility, kids present, possible identity fraud. I need a unit to respond. When he hung up, he looked at the broken door frame, then down at the skip packet in his hand. All right, he said. Let's see what they're claiming you did. He opened the folder again and flipped straight to the first page, the way someone does when they're used to paperwork lying. Name, Aaron Caldwell. Charge, words I didn't recognize. A court date. A line that made my skin crawl. Failure to appear. Dean's thumb moved down the page, and then he stopped. Okay, he murmured. Here's the hook. What? I asked. He turned the page toward me and pointed. Bond company info, he said, and the indemnitor. The what? I asked, not trying to be dumb, just honestly lost. The person who signs and guarantees the bond, he said, keeping it simple. The person they call when someone skips. I stared at the line he was pointing at, and my stomach dropped. Indemnitor/co-signer, Sloane Hart. My sister. Right there in black and white, with her phone number listed beneath it. Dean's voice went low. She didn't just tip us, he said. She's tied to the paperwork. My mouth went dry. That has to be a mistake, I whispered. Dean shook his head slowly. Not with a number on it, he said. That number is either hers or someone put it there on purpose. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Sloane. Tell them you'll come quietly. Don't make it ugly. Dean saw it because my face gave it away. He held out his hand. Let me photograph that screen. I turned my phone toward him. He took a quick photo, no theatrics, then handed it back. Good, he said. That's intent. Outside, the tall guy shouted from the porch. Dean, police are coming, man. We're gonna get jammed up. Dean didn't even flinch. Then you should have knocked like a normal person, he called back. A few minutes later, red and blue lights washed across my living room walls through the broken doorway. Two officers stepped onto my porch, slower than the bounty hunters, hands relaxed, eyes scanning everything. Dean walked out first, palms open. Officer, he said. Dean Mercer, recovery agent. This went sideways. The older officer, Officer Hawkins, according to his badge, looked at the busted door and then looked at me. Ma'am, he said steady. Are you okay? I nodded, but my voice came out thin. My kids are terrified, I said, and I don't know what any of this is. Officer Hawkins stepped inside just enough to see the hallway. Kids here? He asked. Yes, I said. He lowered his voice immediately. All right, nobody else is going back there. We'll keep it calm. Then he looked at Dean. You got paperwork? He asked. Dean handed him the skip packet. Officer Hawkins flipped through it, expression tightening. He stopped at the co-signer line. Then he looked up at me. Your sister's name is on this, he said. Yes, I whispered. She just texted me. She knew they were here. I held up my phone. Not dramatic. Just proof. Officer Hawkins read the texts, and the corners of his mouth went hard. Okay, he said quietly. That helps. The second officer spoke into his radio. Requesting supervisor and report number, he said. Officer Hawkins turned back to Dean. Are you licensed in this state in the what? He asked. Dean nodded and pulled a card from his wallet, then another from the folder. Company info, license number, contact line. He didn't get defensive. He got organized. Here, he said, and I've got body cam on my partner outside. Officer Hawkins looked at the porch, then back at the broken frame. You guys force entry? He asked. The tall guy started to answer from outside, loud, already defensive, but Dean cut him off. Yes, Dean said simply. Johnson, I told them to stop. When I recognized her and saw kids, I called you because this didn't feel right. Officer Hawkins nodded slowly, like he appreciated the honesty more than the ego. Then he asked me the question that made my stomach twist. Ma'am, have you ever been arrested in Riverside County? I blinked. No. Officer Hawkins glanced back down at the packet. Because this file says there's a failure to appear out of Riverside County under your name, he said. I felt cold. That's not possible, I whispered. I've never even been to Riverside County. Officer Hawkins didn't accuse me. He just said something that made my throat tighten. I believe you, he said. But right now, on paper, someone is trying to make you look like a fugitive. Dean's jaw flexed. That's identity work, he muttered. Us, Officer Hawkins, looked between us. Tonight, he said, we're making a report for the forced entry, the disturbance, and these messages. He pulled out a small notebook and wrote a number, then tore the corner off and handed it to me. This is your incident number, he said. Don't lose it. Then he leaned in a little, voice lower. And tomorrow, he added, we're going to find out why your sister's name is tied to a bond file with your name on it. My phone buzzed again. No text this time. A call from an unknown number. Dean glanced at my screen and said, don't answer. But Officer Hawkins held up a finger. Let it go to voicemail, he said. Sometimes people hand you the rope all by themselves. I let it ring. It stopped. A voicemail popped up instantly. One new message. I hit play with the phone on speaker. My sister's voice filled the room. Tight, controlled, trying to sound innocent. Aaron, just do the right thing. Turn yourself in. I'm trying to help you. Officer Hawkins stared at my phone like it had just spoken in court. Dean's face went flat. And Officer Hawkins said one sentence that made my stomach drop through the floor. Ma'am, she just admitted she knows there's a fugitive case under your name. He looked at me, then at my broken door. This isn't just a scare tactic, he said quietly. This is someone trying to put you in cuffs. By sunrise, my front door was a sheet of plywood and a row of angry screws. A neighbor named Mrs. Patel had brought over a roll of paper towels and the kind of calm you can't buy. She didn't ask for the whole story. She just said, your kids need breakfast. And started making toast like my living room wasn't a crime scene. Mason sat at the table in his hoodie, eyes too big for his face. Lily wouldn't let go of my sleeve. Every time a car passed outside, both of them flinched. I kept telling myself, get them to school. Make it normal, then fall apart later. At 8:30, Officer Hawkins called. Ma'am, we've got a detective who wants to meet you this morning. He said, Identity and Fraud Unit. Can you come in? Do I need to bring my kids? I asked, already hating the question. No, he said quickly. Please don't. We'll keep this short. Dean was still outside on the porch, talking quietly with his team, keeping them in line like a disappointed older brother. When I told him where I was going, he nodded. I'll go with you, he said. Not as your whatever, just as a witness. I want this on record. I swallowed. You don't have to. I know, he said. That's why I'm doing it. The police station smelled like coffee and worn carpet. A woman in a plain blazer met us in a small interview room. Aaron Caldwell? She asked. I nodded. I'm Detective Lila Chen, she said, shaking my hand. Her grip was firm and normal, like we were meeting at an office, not after my door got kicked in. I'm sorry about last night. I sat down, my phone in both hands like it was a stress ball. Detective Chen didn't start with a lecture. She started with a simple sentence. We pulled the actual court information connected to that bond packet, she said. And you're right, something's very wrong. She slid a printed page across the table. Not a story, not a vibe. A page. And at the top, Riverside County, failure to appear. Below it, a name, Aaron Caldwell. And then, what my brain couldn't make fit, a booking photo. It wasn't me. It was a woman with bleached hair and a sharp chin and a little tattoo on her neck. Close enough in bad lighting, far enough in daylight. My mouth went dry. That's not, I started. I know, Detective Chen said. Fingerprints don't match you. DMV photo doesn't match you, but the case is in your name. I stared at the mugshot until my eyes burned. How does that even happen? I whispered. Detective Chen kept it human. Someone used your identity when they were arrested, she said. Or someone's identity was entered using your information. Either way, it created a case under your name. Dean shifted in his chair beside me. "And the bond?" he asked. Detective Chen nodded and slid a second page forward. This one was from a bail bond company. At the top, indemnity agreement. Under it, my name again. Then she tapped the lines in the middle. Here's what matters, she said. This agreement lists your sister, Sloane Hart, as the co-signer. My stomach tightened. So she really is tied to it, I whispered. Yes, Detective Chen said. And it gets better. She flipped to the next page, a payment receipt. Amount, date, method. Under paid by, it said, Sloane Hart. Detective Chen watched my face carefully. Your sister paid to bail this person out, she said. Under your name. Dean's jaw flexed. So when the defendant skipped court, the bond company sent recovery agents after Aaron Caldwell. Detective Chen nodded. Exactly. I stared at the receipt, my hands going cold. So, she used my name to bail out some random woman? I asked. Detective Chen's expression didn't change. Not random, she said. She slid over one more sheet, just the corner of it showing a name highlighted in yellow. The defendant's real identity, according to fingerprints. Brianna Hart. I blinked hard. Hart? Detective Chen met my eyes. Same last name, she said. Not your sister, but connected. Dean leaned forward, voice low. Family. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. She bailed out a relative, I whispered, and put it in my name. Detective Chen nodded once. And then, when Brianna didn't show up in court, your sister gave your address to recovery agents, which is how your door got kicked in. I felt like I couldn't get enough air. So she did this to get Brianna back in custody? I asked. I'm trying to make it make sense. Detective Chen didn't sugarcoat it. She did it to save herself, she said. If that bond gets forfeited, the bond company goes after the co-signer. That's your sister. Dean's face went flat. So she wanted Aaron grabbed so the company would think they caught the right person. Detective Chen pointed at the text messages I'd saved. And these, she said, show she wasn't just trying to fix a bond issue. She was enjoying it. My phone buzzed in my lap like it had heard its name. A notification popped up. New email. Notice of intent to levy/garnish. From a collection-looking address. I froze. Detective Chen noticed immediately. What is that? She asked. I opened it with shaking fingers. It wasn't from the court. It was from the bail company. Failure to return defendant. Account subject to collection. Co-signer liable. And then my stomach dropped even further. It listed my name as the defendant and my address as the last known residence. Dean let out a low breath. They're coming after her now. Detective Chen held out her hand. Forward that to me. I did it. She nodded like, good, that's another brick. Then she leaned in slightly. Aaron, she said, I need you to hear me. Last night was the scary part. Today is the paperwork part. Paperwork is how we stop it. I swallowed. What happens to Sloane? Detective Chen didn't promise fantasy. She promised steps. Today, I'm requesting the body cam from last night, she said. I'm pulling the bond office security footage. Oh, I'm also filing for an emergency correction request on the warrant database, so you don't get flagged the next time a patrol car runs your name. My stomach lurched. There's a chance I could get pulled over and... I know. She cut in gently. That's why we're moving fast. Dean shifted again. And your team? He asked, nodding toward the door. They're spooked. They don't want heat. Detective Chen's eyes sharpened. I do, she said simply. Heat makes people tell the truth. Then she looked at me. Do you have any idea how your sister got your full information? She asked. Social, license number, date of birth. Enough to attach your name to a booking. I stared at the table for a second. Then something old and ugly slid into place. My purse, I said quietly. Last month. She helped me carry groceries. Later, my wallet was moved. I thought my kid had gotten into it. Dean's eyes narrowed. She took photos. Detective Chen nodded like that was the most predictable thing in the world. Probably okay, she said. Then she stood up. Okay, we're not guessing anymore. She opened the door and motioned for us to follow. In the hallway, Officer Hawkins was waiting with a uniformed supervisor, a sergeant I hadn't seen before. He looked calm in that way that says he's dealt with chaos all night and is done with nonsense. Detective Chen spoke quietly to him, then turned back to me. We're going to your sister's address, right, she said. Not to kick her door in, to interview her, seize relevant evidence if she consents, and preserve digital records. My heart started hammering again. She's going to lie, I said. Detective Chen's mouth tightened. I'm counting on it, she said, because liars repeat themselves when they think they're in control. Dean looked at me as we walked out. You okay? He asked. I almost laughed. Like a real laugh this time, tired and bitter. No, I said, but I'm done being confused. We stepped outside into the bright, normal morning. And that's when my phone buzzed again. A new text from Sloan. Just 4 words. Brianna missed court. Fix it. Detective Chen stopped walking. Dean read over my shoulder. And Detective Chen said very calmly, like she was ticking a box, perfect. Then she lifted her radio. Units, she said. We have confirmation of knowledge and involvement. Let's go. By the time we pulled up to Sloane's place, the sky had that clean, bright morning look that makes everything feel like it should be normal, which was almost insulting. Detective Chen rode with me. Officer Hawkins followed behind us. Dean drove his own truck. I kept thinking about my kids at the kitchen table. Toast crumbs, big scared eyes, and how I'd promised them school would be normal today. Normal, with a plywood front door at home. Detective Chen glanced at me as we parked. You ready? She asked. No, I said, but I'm done waiting for her to decide my life. Chen nodded, like she understood exactly that kind of exhaustion. We walked up together. Sloane's neighborhood was quiet, trimmed lawns, fresh mulch, those identical porch lights that make every house look like it came out of the same box. Detective Chen knocked. Firm, not aggressive. A few seconds later, the door opened. Sloane stood there in a satin robe like she'd been interrupted mid-spa day. Multi hair perfect, face already arranged into concern. Oh my God, she gasped, eyes going wide when she saw uniforms. Is Aaron okay? Her voice was pure theater, but her pupils didn't match it. Her eyes moved fast, left, right, counting who was there. Detective Chen didn't step into the performance. Ms. Hart, she said, calm, we need to talk about a bail bond file tied to Aaron Caldwell's identity. Sloane pressed a hand to her chest. I don't know anything about that. Officer Hawkins stayed back, quiet, letting Chen run it. Chen held her gaze. You texted Aaron at 2 a.m. Did they find you yet? Sloane blinked once, too slow. What? She said, like she couldn't imagine such a thing. Chen didn't argue. She just held up her phone with the screenshot visible. Sloane's mouth tightened. That could be edited, she said quickly. And people do that. Dean let out one short breath beside me, like he'd heard this exact line 100 times. Detective Chen kept her tone even. Then let's make this easy. We also have your voicemail telling Aaron to turn herself in. Sloane's face twitched. Not fear, annoyance. like we were skipping to the part where she preferred to be in control. I was trying to help, she said sharply. If there's a warrant, there shouldn't be. I cut in before I could stop myself. My voice came out tight. Because it isn't me. Sloane's eyes flicked to me like I'd ruined her script. Aaron, she said softly, this is serious. Don't do this in front of. In front of who? I snapped. You sent strangers into my house, in front of my kids. Her face hardened for half a second, then smoothed back over. I didn't send anyone, she said. I got a call. I was scared. I did the right thing. Detective Chen tilted her head slightly. You got a call from who? Sloane hesitated, just long enough. A bond company, she said. They asked if I knew where Aaron was. Dean shifted at that, eyes narrowing. Chen stepped closer, not threatening, just closing distance. Which bond company? She asked. Sloane's lips parted, then closed again. I don't remember, she said. Dean couldn't help it. Funny, he muttered, because your name is listed as the co-signer. Sloane snapped her head toward him. And who are you? She demanded. Dean didn't puff up. He just said it plain. I'm the guy who stopped your help from turning into your sister in handcuffs in her own hallway, he said. So, yeah, I'm here. Sloane stared at him like she wanted him to disappear. Detective Chen didn't give her the time. Ms. Hart, she said, we have paperwork showing you paid on this bond file. Sloane's face went smooth again, the way it does when someone decides to lie harder. That's impossible, she said. I've never paid a bond. That's gross. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because, of course, she'd call it gross, like it was a brand choice. Chen reached into her folder and slid a printed receipt toward Sloane, holding it so she could read it without touching it. Sloane's eyes dropped. I watched her throat move as she swallowed. Then she lifted her chin too fast. That's not mine, she said. Anyone can type a name on a receipt. Chen nodded once, like she was checking off boxes. Okay, she said. Then you won't mind showing me your phone. Sloane's expression changed instantly. No, she said. Chen didn't react. You can decline, but I'm asking because your messages, your voicemail, your name on the bond file, and a forced entry at your sister's home is more than enough for us to seek a warrant for digital evidence. Sloane laughed, short, nasty. A warrant for my phone, she said. Over a misunderstanding? Officer Hawkins finally spoke, voice steady. Ma'am, he said, your sister's door is broken. Her children were traumatized. That's not a misunderstanding. Sloane's jaw tightened. Then she tried a different angle. Sweet again. Aaron, she said, stepping forward. If you just tell them where Brianna is, this goes away. The air left my lungs. Detective Chen's eyes snapped up. Brianna, she repeated. Brianna who, Ms. Hart? Sloane froze. It was a tiny freeze, but it was real. I saw it in the way her eyes searched for a safer word. Then she realized she'd already said it. Brianna. Hart, Sloane said carefully, as if she'd always planned to. She's family. Distant. I was trying to keep her from getting hurt. Chen's gaze didn't move. So you do know the defendant on the bond file, she said. Sloane's mouth opened, then closed. Dean leaned toward me, barely audible. She just walked into it. Detective Chen took one small step back, like she was giving Sloane room to keep talking. Let's be clear, Chen said. Brianna Hart used Aaron Caldwell's identity in a criminal case, and you co-signed the bond under Aaron's name. Then you directed recovery agents to Aaron's home. Sloane's eyes flashed. I didn't direct anybody. Chen lifted her phone again. You texted, did they find you yet? And you called her telling her to turn herself in. Sloane snapped, because she was going to get arrested. Officer Hawkins' voice stayed calm. For a case that isn't hers. Sloane's breathing got faster, like her body was betraying the calm she wanted to project. Then her phone buzzed in her robe pocket. She flinched. It was small, but it happened. Chen's eyes dropped to the pocket. You can hand it to me voluntarily, she said, or we do this the hard way. Sloane backed up a half step. No, she said again, louder. I want a lawyer. Chen nodded like, okay, now we're done playing nice. Understood, she said. Don't delete anything, don't wipe anything, don't call anyone. Sloane scoffed. You can't tell me. We can, Hawkins said, and it was the first time his voice had any edge. Because if evidence gets destroyed, it becomes another charge. Sloane went quiet. For a beat, nobody moved. Then Chen turned to me. Aaron, she said softly, wait by the car. I didn't want to. Every nerve in me wanted to stay planted right there and watch my sister squirm. But I nodded and stepped off the porch. Dean came with me, keeping his eyes on the door. This is the part where she calls somebody, he murmured. And tells them what? I whispered. Dean's mouth tightened. To run, or to wipe, or to blame you. As if on cue, Sloane's voice rose inside the doorway, muffled, angry. I didn't do anything. She's crazy. Detective Chen's voice stayed level. Ma'am, stop talking and listen. Hawkins said something I couldn't hear. A minute later, Chen came back down the porch steps, phone in hand. Warrant request is going in now, she said. My chest tightened. How fast? Chen looked me right in the eye. Fast enough, she said. We have forced entry, documented messages, bond payment receipt, and her admission she knows Brianna Hart. Dean let out a breath through his nose. That'll do it. We waited in the car while Chen typed on her laptop, fingers moving like she'd been doing this her whole career. 20 minutes felt like an hour. Then her phone rang. Chen listened, nodded, and ended the call. Signed, she said. Officer Hawkins' radio crackled. Unit on scene, a voice said. Ready. Chen opened the car door. All right, she said. Now we do it clean. We walked back up as another officer joined Hawkins at the porch. Chen knocked again, this time with paperwork. Sloane opened the door just enough to see, and then her face tightened when she realized we hadn't left. What now? She snapped. Chen held the warrant up where she could see it. Sloane's color shifted. No, she said, shaking her head fast. No, this is insane. Hawkins' tone stayed even. Ma'am, step back. Sloane did, barely, eyes darting around like she wanted to teleport. Chen entered first, calm and precise, and within minutes they had Sloane's phone in an evidence bag. Sloane tried to lunge for it once, like it was her oxygen. Hawkins blocked her without touching her, just presence. Don't, he warned. Sloane's eyes burned into me. You did this, she hissed. I didn't raise my voice. You did it at 2 a.m., I said quietly. I'm just awake now. Chen moved through the living room, photographing what was in plain sight. A printer, a stack of papers, sharing a folder with Bond written in Sharpie like someone tried to make it look casual. Then Chen opened Sloane's laptop, already unlocked, still glowing. And I felt my pulse spike because the screen wasn't a show. It was an email chain. Subject line, skip update, new address confirmed. The sender name made my throat go tight. Trent, Riverside Bail. Chen's voice stayed calm, but her eyes sharpened. Dean, she said, your team records incoming tip calls? Dean nodded. Most of the time, liability. Chen turned the laptop slightly toward Hawkins. Look at this, she said. On the screen was a forwarded message, Sloane's words, typed, neat, cold. She's at this address. She has kids. Go at night so she doesn't run. My stomach twisted. Hawkins' jaw tightened. Sloane's voice cracked, suddenly loud. That's not what I meant. Chen didn't look at her. She pointed to the timestamp. Then she pointed to the address. Then she pointed to the words, go at night. No, Chen said softly. That's exactly what you meant. Dean's phone buzzed. He looked at it and went still. Chen noticed. What is it? Dean swallowed once. My contact at the bond company. He answered on speaker because Chen motioned for him to. A man's voice came through, tense. Dean, your crew hit the wrong house. We just got a call from Riverside PD. We're pulling the file, and he paused. We found something else. Dean's eyes flicked to me. What? He asked. The voice hesitated like he hated saying it. Brianna Hart, he said, it was just picked up. My chest tightened. And he added, she's claiming Sloan told her to use Aaron Caldwell's name because it would buy time. The room went dead quiet. Sloane's face drained so fast it looked unreal. Detective Chen turned slowly toward her. Ma'am, she said, calm as ice. I'm going to ask you one last time. Do you want to keep talking without a lawyer? Sloane's mouth opened. No sound came out. And that was when Officer Hawkins' radio crackled again. One more piece, like the universe wasn't done stacking weight on the moment. Detective, Riverside confirmed the failure to appear warrant is still active in the system until a judge signs the identity correction order. My heart started pounding again. Chen's eyes snapped to me. That means, she said quietly, we have to clear your name fast, before a traffic stop turns into cuffs. Detective Chen didn't sugarcoat it. If your name pops on a traffic stop before we fix the database, she said, you could end up in cuffs first and explanations later. That hit me harder than the door getting kicked in, because it meant last night wasn't over. It could repeat itself in daylight, in front of my kids, in a grocery store parking lot. Chen turned to Officer Hawkins. I need a rapid confirmation note entered on her profile. Now, fingerprint verify only. Hawkins nodded and stepped aside with his radio like this wasn't dramatic, just urgent. Then Chen looked at me. Come with me. We're getting your prints on file as a victim statement and pushing an emergency identity correction request to Riverside. I blinked. Today? Today, she said. Because your sister didn't wait for business hours when she tried to ruin you. An hour later, I was in a small room at the station, pressing my fingers onto an electronic pad while a technician talked me through it like we were doing a membership card. Right thumb, left thumb. I stared at my own hands and thought, this is so stupid. Not the prints. The fact that I had to prove I was me because my sister wanted a shortcut. Dean waited outside the room, arms folded, quiet in that steady way that made my nervous system unclench a tiny bit. When I finished, Detective Chen immediately sent the print confirmation through her system, then dialed someone and put the call on speaker. A calm voice answered. Riverside County Records. Chen didn't rant. She didn't over-explain. This is Detective Lila Chen, she said. We have a failure to appear warrant tied to an identity theft victim. We've confirmed fingerprints do not match the defendant. I need an emergency review and a judge's signature for identity correction. There was a pause. Then, do you have the fingerprint mismatch documentation and the associated bond paperwork? Chen looked at me once and said, we do. She sent it while we were still standing there. And then we waited, quiet, tense, that awful in-between where you can't do anything but breathe and hope the right person takes it seriously. My phone buzzed once. A text from Sloan. If you don't tell them where Brianna is, you're going down with her. Detective Chen held out her hand without a word. I handed her the phone. She took one look and her expression flattened into something professional and cold. Good, she said. Agis, that's threat. That's consciousness of guilt. That's her putting it in writing. Dean exhaled slowly through his nose. She really can't help herself. I didn't feel clever. I felt tired. I felt like I'd been carrying a backpack of rocks for years, and last night it finally ripped open. By late afternoon, Chen's phone rang. She answered, listened, and nodded twice. Then she turned to me. Riverside reviewed the fingerprint mismatch, she said. Judge signed the identity correction order. My knees nearly gave out. Say that again, I whispered. Chen pulled up an email and turned her screen toward me. There it was, a PDF confirmation with a case reference number at the top and a line that mattered more than anything. Warrant remains against the defendant. Not against Aaron Caldwell. It wasn't poetic. It was paperwork. And it felt like oxygen. Hawkins walked back in and handed me a stamped letter on department letterhead. Keep this in your glove box, he said. If you get stopped before every system updates, you show them this and they call me. Understand? I nodded so hard my neck hurt. Thank you, I managed. Hawkins didn't do the just doing my job speech. He just looked me in the eye and said, Your kids didn't deserve last night. That almost broke me more than anything. Then Detective Chen stood up and did something that told me this wasn't going to end with "we'll see." Now, she said, we circle back to your sister. We returned to Sloane's house with the warrant already in motion and evidence stacked like bricks. The bond receipt with her name, the email telling them to hit my house at night, my texts, and her voicemail. Brianna's statement that Sloane told her to use my name, and now the identity correction order proving I was the victim, not the defendant. Sloane opened the door this time without her robe act. She looked tight, cornered. Her eyes went straight to the evidence bag in Chen's hand, like she already knew. Detective Chen spoke calmly, like reading weather. Ms. Hart, she said, you are under arrest for identity theft-related offenses and interference with law enforcement processes. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. Sloane stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. You can't, she started, voice rising. Erin is lying. She's always. Hawkins stepped forward, not angry, just final. Ma'am, he said, we have your messages, your payment, your email. And the defendant you bailed out says you told her to use your sister's name. Sloane's face flashed, panic, then rage. She snapped her eyes to me. You're really doing this? She hissed. I didn't yell. I didn't give her what she wanted. I just said the truth that had taken me too long to learn. You did it at 2 a.m. This is just the paperwork catching up. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The cuffs clicked. No cheering. No slow-motion victory. Just consequences. And for the first time in my life, she couldn't talk her way around them. That night, I went home to a house that looked like it had been through a storm. Mrs. Patel was waiting with a spare casserole dish and the kind of quiet support that feels like a hand on your shoulder without the touching. Dean and one of his contacts from the bond company showed up too. Different energy now. Not swagger. Damage control. A man in a polo introduced himself in the doorway. Trent, he said, eyes on the broken frame. Compliance. He didn't try to justify it. We're paying for the door, he said immediately. And we're cooperating with the investigation. Everything we have, call logs, packet origin, tip history, we're turning over. I stared at him. Why did they come here? He swallowed once. Because the cosigner pushed the address hard, he admitted. And because someone built a packet that made it look urgent. He looked at me, not performative, just real. I'm sorry, he said. This should never have happened. It didn't erase the terror, it didn't unscare my kids, but it was something I could point to. A consequence, a repair, a paper trail. The next morning, I took Mason and Lily to school myself. They walked in holding my hands like I was a bridge. When I got back to the car, my phone buzzed. An email from Detective Chen. Identity correction order filed and confirmed. Case number included. Next steps attached. I stared at it for a long moment. Because that was the thing my sister never understood. You can fake a lot of things. You can intimidate people with noise. But you can't outrun a clean record once it starts forming. 2 weeks later, I got 3 pieces of mail that I taped inside a kitchen cabinet where my kids couldn't see them, but I could. One, a confirmation letter that the failure to appear flag was removed from my profile. 2, a restitution notice for the door repair. 3, a protection order that said my sister could not contact me directly or indirectly. And the day it was served, she didn't text, she couldn't. That was the door closed part. Not just a new lock on my house, a lock on her access to my life. If you've ever had someone in your own family try to use the system like a weapon, tell me what you would have done in my place. And if you want the next story, you already know what to do. Stick around.